Hello, Americans. Another friend subscribes around the world. You may ask, why do I do that? Why do I put that piece of metal there and leave that door open? Someone could jump over it. This way my dogs ain't getting in there and messing with them. And then night I do it because bears, cougars, fox, cow, all that stuff, man. So this morning, chicks, I got a bunch of chicks. I don't think I showed those. Ended up chicken, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago. We're getting ready to fill that woodshed up. We're sitting over here on the porch and start hearing chirp. Me and Miss Kitty here look at each other, and we look, you know, it sounded just like chicks. We went over in the corner of the woodshed and ended up having nine little chicks that were hatching. So I got them in a cage in the chicken house. They're getting bigger now, a couple weeks old. So I gotta feed them. And this here, this is all extra. I don't think I've talked about it before. You know, it's bear proof because I even have videos of Grizz and Kai and the bear right here. And then, you know, we've had the bear tear out the window and all kinds of crap. Not lately, but before. Here's Mama. There these. 9 of them. Chicken house, the door for the chickens, you know, where they come in and out. And then just closing them up, letting them run around the thing. And now I'm pondering about just letting them out. As long as they don't wander too far. But now we just lost the, it's been a couple weeks now, man, that big old rooster cogburn, man. He always would roost up here. He wouldn't go in with the hens. And something got him. Never found no feathers, no nothing, man. Gone. Alright, now on to the next. You know, last night I went through and I seen I was gonna do a video and show some of the clips. I might still do it. But Tucker Carlson had a guy on there. If I remember, man, I'll put the link in the description down below. And Tucker Carlson had a guy on, we need to stop calling them chemtrails, is one thing he says, is because the chemtrails thing, they've done that on purpose so that everybody will think you're just a tin hat. You wanted bioengineering. So all this is bioengineering, not chemtrails. And let me tell you, man, the stuff that he had to say, if we don't do something about it, we're in trouble.
Most discouraged over the past 30 years are what are those lines in the sky that you see trailing jets? What is that? Some people call them chemtrails, claim that somehow the U.S. government is spraying poison on the population. Those people are clearly crazy. Wikipedia calls them crazy. Every news outlet calls them crazy. But the trails are still there. And it's clearly not water vapor because that doesn't make sense at all. So what are they? We've spent the last 6 months trying to find someone credible who could explain that to us. A serious, sane person with an engineering background who could tell us, what are we looking at? Because we're looking at something. And I don't care what names you call me, I still want to know what it is. And we think we have found that person. Dane Wigington of Northern California has been on this subject for almost 30 years and has compiled what we believe, after looking at it pretty carefully, is the most comprehensive account of what we're seeing. Thanks a lot for joining us. I never knew what to think of this topic, chemtrails or contrails, or the stripes in the sky that linger after airplanes pass. I don't remember them as a child. They're very common now. I've heard people say there's something up, something nefarious going on. So I go to Wikipedia to see what they say, and I want to read you the Wikipedia entry, the first part of it, on this question, okay? You may have seen this, and I'm quoting from Wikipedia as of this morning. The chemtrail conspiracy theory is the erroneous belief that long-lasting condensation trails left in the sky by high-flying aircraft are actually, quote, chemtrails, consisting of chemical or biological agents sprayed for nefarious purposes undisclosed to the general public, period. Believers in this conspiracy theory say that while normal contrails dissipate relatively quickly, contrails that linger must contain additional substances. Those who subscribe to the theory speculate that the purpose of the chemical release may be solar radiation management, weather modification, psychological manipulation, human population control, biological or chemical warfare, or testing of a biological or chemical agent on the population, and that the trails are causing respiratory illnesses and other health problems. So I read that, and the purpose, of course, of that paragraph is not to illuminate what this might be, but to attack anyone who speculates about what it might be. It's a form itself of psychological warfare, of propaganda. And when I read that, I said to myself, there's clearly something going on, because the people who control Wikipedia, which would be the intel agencies, as we know, don't want anyone to talk about this. So with that lengthy preface explaining why this conversation is taking place, I will turn it over to you to explain what are these lines in the sky that we have all seen.
There's sprayed particulate dispersion. There is no theory in this equation. Bottom line is, when we have up-close film footage of these aircraft at altitude, KC-10s, KC-135s, C-17 Globemasters, with nozzles visible turning dispersions on and off. This is not, quote, condensation. GeoEngineeringWatch.org is the only entity that has taken a NOAA flying lab, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration flying lab, top scientists in it, to sample what these heavy aircraft are emitting at altitude. That sample was processed at Rensselaer Polytechnic in New York, one of the world's most renowned testing institutions. We found exactly what we knew we would find, starting with aluminum nanoparticles. Bioavailable freeform aluminum is toxic to all life, period. That element is named in numerous climate engineering patents as part of a geoengineering dispersion element. So again, there's no theory involved in any of this. And what's so incredibly profound in this equation, Tucker, you have the entire global climate science community, governments all over the world saying we need to put aircraft in the air immediately to disperse light scattering particles. We use the science terms at GeoEngineeringWatch.org because the chemtrails term is the instant marginalization term by design. We bring that term up, any elected official won't talk to you anymore, media will immediately marginalize you. Solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol injection, cloud albedo enhancement, climate engineering. If we stick to the science terms, they can't marginalize us. So again, this elephant in the sky that we are told is a conspiracy theory is exactly what the entire global climate science community says we need to deploy immediately to slow down the warming of the planet. Stated purpose to deflect some of the sun's incoming thermal energy. We know these programs, not surprisingly, are making a bad situation worse, not better. And Tucker, they're being used as a form of warfare. And we know that. We have countries like Iran, constantly demonized, of course, as you well know. Immediately after 9/11, we have the list of countries to be targeted given to General Wesley Clark, a list that clearly existed before 9/11 even occurred. Subsequently, every one of those countries, every one of them, endured a once in 1,000 year drought. Statistically, mathematically, that's impossible without climate intervention operations. And we have the leader of Iran on the floor of the UN, on film, on the record, stating NATO was cutting off their precipitation. We have Iranian top scientists recently stating NATO's been doing this for 40 years. Destabilize the food supply by destabilizing the rain, and you destabilize the population.
But let's just back up a little bit. So you're calling this geoengineering. The term chemtrails, you say, is a propaganda term designed to discredit people who ask sincere questions about what the hell am I looking at. So,
correct, because if they Google that term, they'll get what you got. And that's what we try to avoid. If anybody is unfamiliar with the issue and they Google that term, that's the end of their search most likely. So we try to point chess, semantics matter in this case.
Okay, so the first line of the Wikipedia entry points out something true, which is that when you look at these lines in the sky and you're told, well, it's just condensation, it's water vapor, you know that maybe that's not the right explanation, because water vapor dissipates and doesn't remain in the sky for like 20 minutes after the plane leaves. So that suggests bigger particles in the mist, the particulate matter in the mist. Is that correct?
Exactly correct. If you see, for example, breath condensing, if you see some researchers in the Arctic and their breath is condensing because it's very cold, do they get a cloud starting to form over their head? If you have a vehicle that's exhaust is condensing in the morning, you have a freeway with giant clouds hanging over it from the condensation from the vehicles in some cold region? No, that's not how condensation behaves. And again, my journey into this whole battle of now 27 years, but when I built my off-grid home in Northern California, middle of the wilderness, it was the cover of the world's largest renewable energy magazine. They have solar, wind, and hydro. And I was losing, on some days, from what these aircraft were emitting, 50, 60, even 70% of my solar uptake from what these aircraft were emitting. I knew that could not be condensation. When I began to research, I was very surprised at the mountain of information on geoengineering, solar radiation management. And I looked for primary elements. I began to test my precipitation. I hoped I would not find these elements in my rain, because I knew if I did, it would change the entire course of my life. I cannot look the other way. I came up with 7 parts per billion in my first rain test over the next 18 months, because I took that long in researching before I was willing to speak out on this issue. At the end of 18 months, I had single rain events with 3,450 parts per billion of aluminum in my rain. This is bioavailable free-form aluminum, which is toxic to all life forms, period. Primary element named in climate engineering patents, and we have the world's most recognized geoengineers specifically stating on film, on the record, their goal of using aluminum in these programs because of its high reflectivity, with no consideration of the consequences. That's how I got into this battle. With the nation's weathermen, National Weather Service, and NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, there is an illegal federal gag order on all agency operations with those two entities. Why would our government feel the need to gag the weathermen? I had a NOAA scientist state to my face, quote, "We all know this is going on. We have no First Amendment protection. We don't know what to do." So the bottom line is, let's all just pretend this isn't going on while it's virtually dismantling the planet's primary life support systems and ubiquitously contaminating everything everywhere. I'm not just talking about aluminum. We have in lab tests, and again, we've done hundreds of lab tests. We did 500 working with the University of Minnesota, an internationally recognized agricultural institution. We have aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, surfactants, polymer fibers, graphene, all of this coming down in our breathable air column, Tucker.
That's horrifying. So who's doing this specifically?
Ultimately, all roads lead to those who print the money. But we know, as far as the coordinating entities, certainly DOD, DARPA.
It always leads back to the money. Money and control, man. Money and control. Anyway, I'm going to put the link down below this video to Tucker's. You know, you can watch, I listened to it on Spotify. I actually recorded this off of YouTube, so it's on YouTube, Spotify, and any other streaming thing, and a very interesting, you know, interview. And I don't know how much of it I'll show on here, because I gotta kind of edit it and everything, but dude, man, I've been saying it for years and years and years. So from now on, you won't be hearing me call it chemtrails. It'll be geoengineering for sure, because that's what it is. Control. And it's killing off, man. He gets into it, man. It's killing off our trees. All this, man. Definitely a must-see, must listen to, see, whatever interview. Dang, man. Things just, man, it just never ends. Good Lord willing, them creeks don't rise. We'll be back again tomorrow. See ya.